Warning: the following podcast, which contains strong language and mature content, is unsuitable for children or for the faint of heart. The subject matter discussed will be frightening and graphic in nature. Listener discretion is advised.
When you want to hear about the paranormal, you get the Spooked Girls. True crime that makes you hypothermal. With the three Spooked Girls. Stabby snippets will give you dreams. Tara and Jessica will make you along with the Spooked Girls. Bring on the slaughter. We on that haunted ground. Spooked Girls. The three Spooked Girls.
Hey there, Spooksters, and welcome back to the first episode here on Three Spooked Girls in 2026.
Woo!
In real time, we're still in 2025, obviously. But we wanted to say a Happy New Year for all of those who are listening on Drop Day, because today is New Year's Day, and we hope you enjoy this episode and the content, because I'm going to let you know this. We're doing a Papa Joe today. I'm going to just let you know that it is so different.
Oh, okay.
And just the story is fucking crazy.
Ooh, all right.
But before I tell you about that, if you want to hang out with us on social media, please go join our Facebook group. I'm going to start there today. Go join our Facebook group.
You did it. We didn't even introduce ourselves.
Oh my God. Back way up. Hi, guys. Welcome. If you're new here, my name is Jessica, and I'm joined by my favorite person on the planet, Tara.
Hey, Spooksters.
For those of you who are...
It's okay.
I think it's because the last episode we recorded was Altier, and I was like, we don't introduce ourselves on Altier, and just foop out my head, just how we do anything, just gone. But now that you know who we are, if you would like to join us on social media, please join our Facebook group. It's Three Spooked Girls Official. We have a lot of stuff going on in there. It's really like a fun place, and we can kind of just interact with one another. And it's a little slice of wonderful heaven on the internet. Also, if you want to follow us on all the other socials, we have Facebook, Instagram, and Threads. Basically anywhere where you can find social media, we're there. Pretty much, not every place, but most places. Our handle is at Three Spooked Girls. If you are a reader, please join us in our book club for 2026. It is a lot of fun, and we get together once a month on the last Sunday of every month for about 30 minutes, and we discuss books and things like that. For December, we read The Housemaid. It was kind of November, December combined, because The Housemaid came out on December 19th in theaters. And by the time you're listening to this, Tara and I will have seen it in person. Mm-hmm. We're going to go together. So if you are interested in reading books and discussing them with other like-minded individuals, please join our book club. It is the Spookster Literary Society. We, like I said, meet once a month. It's super fun. If you want to help support the show, you can head over to patreon.com/3spookgirls or hit the link tree in the show notes. And for little as $1, you get a bonus episode each month. 5 and up get ad-free episodes, and it's released a day early. For those of you who are all caught up and you need us a little bit faster,
there you go.
You get us on Wednesday instead of Thursday. So definitely check it out. We have so much backlog over there. If you are all caught up and you're like, I want more, I want some hot takes, I want some other things, definitely check it out. Also, anything that says From the Vault here on our main feed is kind of the content we do over there. So if you've really enjoyed those episodes, definitely go check those out. And we have a lot, because we've talked about it here before. Pandemic era, Jessica and Tara had a lot less like outside time. So we just filled it with podcast content.
Yeah.
So definitely check it out. We are going to dive into today another Homicide Hunter with Papa Joe, Lieutenant Joe Kenda. We're in season 2, episode 4, and it is called The Spy Who Killed Me.
Ooh, okay.
Right?
We haven't had a spy before on this show.
We have not. If you are unfamiliar with this show, it is a legendary homicide detective. Joe Kenda has several shows on the Discovery Plus or Discovery Channel. He has solved over 400 murders in his career. He was stationed or based out of Colorado Springs, Colorado. So if you have been listening and you're like, why do they only talk about Colorado murders? It's because that's where he worked. And today's is actually one of the like more recent ones. It would be July 17th, 1995.
Oh, okay.
So that's pretty crazy in my opinion, because most of them it's like 82. Or occasionally you hear Jessica go, and then I was born X amount of weeks later. But this is like a later in his career. The episode starts off with, we have found a mother in a basement. There's a fire that's going to cover it up. And the victim's son is found 50 miles away. Right? If you're familiar with the content or the structure of his show, he always gives a good like little monologue at the beginning. And I like took the first part of it and the last part of it, because the middle part, he just kind of, I was like, where are you going with this, Papa Joe? So he's like, you always saw the case for the victim. It was for her life that she wasn't going to get to lead. Someone is going to have to pay for that. And I'm here to collect. I was like, ooh, Papa Joe.
All right, Papa Joe, get it.
Right. So like I mentioned, on July 17th, 1995, in Canyon City, Colorado. So it's a little different.
Okay.
Not quite the same. It's about 50 miles or so from Colorado Springs.
I know where that is, yeah.
I figured you did. The town is described as like roughly about 20,000 people live in it. It's very isolated from bigger cities. So it's something you can drive through, but it's like you kind of need to know where to drive through it. On that day, a 10-year-old boy with a dog on a leash walks into the Canyon City Police Department. Officer Tracy McCoy, he's sitting at his desk. I love the reenactor because it's like he's just having a typical nice day. And he's like eating Lay's potato chips, like the originals. Was like, you got production couldn't even spring for better chips. I mean, Lay's chips are great, but like
a better flavor, yeah. No barbecue, nothing?
Right. The amount of takes that this man probably had to do to get this. I'm like, you couldn't have given him something a little bit more like nummy than just original flavor.
At least it wasn't like saltine crackers or something.
They're like, here, pretend this is a chip. He said that he was like, just working at his computer, and the dispatch, like, or the front desk kind of person, I guess, was also their dispatch, which would make sense in a small town like that, said, hey, can you come up here? There's a little boy with a dog. And that would pique anyone's interest. So he goes forward and he meets this boy, and he says he's straightforward young man. He's not shy. He's very like articulate. He's smart. He's like holding a conversation with this detective. And the little boy introduces himself. He's like, my name is William, and this is my dog Kirby, which he's like a 10-month-old like golden retriever. And McCoy is like, so what you doing here, bud? Like, where are you from? And he's like, I'm from Colorado Springs. And they're like, that's kind of far away from home. So let's go down. And he goes, someone is after my family. Someone is trying to kill us.
What?
I know. So obviously he's like, something's weird. And he goes, how did you get here? He's like, my dad dropped me off. My dad drove here, and like basically he tells him, my dad drove me here, told me that some foreign agents are trying to get us, and I needed to go into this police station for protection. So that's what he did. And he's just like very calm and telling. So Detective McCoy is like, I need to get a hold of a parent. And so he's like, do you know your home number? And he rattled off his home number. And so he calls and the phone just rings and rings. He even said that he let the phone ring so long that it disconnected. And I was like, I didn't know phones did that.
I did not either. Wow.
Because I assume that phones, the people just hang up, that there's no end to it.
Right.
So Detective McCoy is like, I need to get a hold of the police station nearby to like go do a wellness check or go let this mother know that her son is 50. Because you imagine like your kid is 50 miles away and you have no idea. All this detective knows, this dad is playing games and just like drop this kid off to like fuck with the mom, So he calls the Colorado Springs Police Department and they're like, what's the address? And he rattles off the address again. And they go, interesting. Our fire department is currently at that house because it is on fire. And they, police come to fire. So like PD was there. And basically 2 hours before that phone call, the Colorado Springs Fire Department got a call that a house was on fire. It was a 2-story house and there was a ton of fire like up front towards the front of the house. And they were like obviously really concerned. And it took them a really long time to kind of get it under control. About an hour and a half is what they said. Or maybe not quite that long, but it was close to it. we meet a man by the name of Larry Schwarz. He's an arson investigator, and he is there to identify the source of the fire. Like, was this like a faulty wire? Did someone light it? He notices immediately that there's a ton of damage and that there is like gas and like an accelerant that's there. And so he says how he works because he's in it. So you get to kind of hear his perspective in the episode. He talks about how he went and was like walking through the house, and he always starts at like the least amount of damage from fire and then works his way to the most. Which I was like, that's actually really smart. I didn't think about how they investigate it because I only know it from like like cop procedurals where like they walk in and they're like, just walk up to a spot, bend down, and they're like, smells like propane, like that kind of stuff, right? So he's like taking all this stuff. And like I said, he found evidence of gasoline all over the place and that this had been one really, really hot fire. And so as he's watching, as he's like tracking it, he goes down the stairs to the basement and he's like kind of seeing the smoke and like the fire damage. And he's taking photos and he's like near the ground and he's like taking photos of like papers on the ground that had been lit on fire. And he said he looked up and 2 feet away from him was a dead woman laying face down.
Oh, shit.
And, you know, in the first thought, he's like, shit, like she probably like died in the fire. But then he got closer and he noticed that there was a pool of blood around her head, which he said wasn't unusual because like sometimes in fires, things dislodge. Like if she was incapacitated, but like still alive, something could have fallen on her head and bludgeoned her. But the blood wouldn't have like coagulated quite the same way. It probably would have burned away is kind of what I was getting. So he was like, what this is telling me with the blood and how old it seemed is that the body was there prior to the fire. Like the dead body, like she had passed away. So Larry's like, he literally goes, I had to call Joe Kenda. So he calls Papa Joe. Now we're about to meet a new person. We have Uncle Brian and Papa Joe and Mama Kathy. We've talked about our previous people, but now we're gonna meeting a new person, which we're not giving him a like, you know, like an indicator of affection quite yet. We're just kind of gonna wait to see how Derek Graham kind of like feels out throughout our seasons with him.
That's fair.
This gentleman's name is Derek Graham. He was a rookie investigator. In fact, July 17th, 1995 was his first day in the department.
Oh my God, of course it was.
He was like, it's literally my first day. And this is what it was interesting. Graham is a little interesting. I'm a little like, I don't know if I like you yet. Because he kind of speaks, like Papa Joe speaks in like police procedural, like one-liners and stuff like that. But it's like someone wrote him a script and he's saying it. This guy really feels like he thinks of shit. Like he pulls these like limericky type things out of his head. And they're like, I'm just going to say this and sound smart. And you're like, okay.
Oh, God.
So he told him he was like getting ready to leave to go. And someone goes, follow the smoke. There's a homicide. And he thought someone was like pulling his leg. He's like, I thought it was a like first day of work prank, like follow my way to the smoke. And then I'm going to like get there. And it's just like someone burning leaves, which I was like, okay, whatever. But it was not a prank. Then he goes on to say, yeah, it was kind of a lot for my first day. I just realized I was about to get my legs underneath me, like baptism by fire. And I was like, Graham, this is about an arson.
Okay, Graham. Okay.
Right? I was like, stop it. You thought you were clever and I'm out here going, nay, nay. Nobody needs your colloquial little phrases here, sir. But anyway, Papa Joe and Graham, or Derek or whatever, I'm going to call him Graham, gets to the scene and they say it's a frantic mess. The house is a mess. It basically looks like a bomb went off in it. But there's family photos everywhere and it shows that there are 3 people in the family. So Papa Joe is like, are there more bodies in this house? And Larry is like, I've done a full like sweep. We've gone through the house several times. We've only found the 1 body. And so they're like, okay, where's the kid and the husband and the dad? We know where the kid is. He's in Canyon City, but we're not there in the story. So Larry takes him to the basement and Papa Joe looks at the scene and he says it's a woman in her 30s. She's wearing like, he calls it at-home clothes. And I was like, I've never felt more seen in my life because I love at-home clothes, which is like a pair of sweatpants and a t-shirt. And I was like, yes, at-home clothes. They see that what she looks like, her face matches the pictures that they found upstairs. So they've established that this is the woman that like lives here. Like she's not like a displaced person, a person who's not supposed to be there. So as he's looking around, he finds a total of 2 expelled 45 ACP casings around. And then he actually goes and looks at the body. And the 2 casings would line up with the wounds on our victim. She had a gunshot wound to her left eyeball that was a contact shot. And then she also had one in her stomach. What a contact wound is, when it comes with a gun, it means that the gun was either touching or was less than an inch from the victim. So they were like, this was an execution style killing. Papa Joe explains that the killer does this because they want to feel detached, because they want distance from their victim, and that they don't want to actually feel the actual act of killing other than like pulling the trigger, but not when it comes to contact gunshot wounds. That's kind of like using a gun as a knife in a sense. Because it's like, you're going to feel that. Papa Joe is like, I got to figure out how this murder and this fire is connected. Because could it have been a freak accident that the house burned down with a dead body in it? Probably not. He was saying it's not super common concealment fires, which I feel like, I was like, Papa Joe, I feel like we've done a lot of these. We've talked about concealment fires, but it's Papa Joe world. We just all live in it.
True.
I mean, at this point, he saved a lot of people's lives, so.
Very much.
Graham is talking about how a person who could do this has to be like evil. And this is really brutal because like we don't know where the kid is. We don't know where anything is. We just know that this woman has been brutally murdered and then her body was, or they tried to cover it up using fire in the middle of a day in July in a nice neighborhood, you know, where neighbors will call the cops when they see smoke. There's a reporter that we'll be talking through here. Her name is Ann Irvin. She just kind of was like, why are you here? It's an arson. And he's like, it's weirder than it appears, which I was like, oh, Papa Joe. I totally believe that you said something weird like that to that reporter. Ann goes on to explain like the kind of neighborhood that this is. It's a lot of stay-at-home moms, a lot of retirees. It's a lot of like, it's like they're nice, well-to-do like families. It wouldn't be unusual to have people have eyes on your house because, you know.
People be home. Yeah.
People be home. We also have to remember that this is like in Colorado Springs and there's a huge like retiree community from the military because there's the army base there. So they were like, okay, knowing this, Papa Joe walks over and starts talking to a couple of neighbors. The neighbors describe the woman who lives in the house and they confirm it is the woman in the photos and is downstairs, is deceased. And her name is Elsie Jennes. I'm saying her name wrong. I really tried. I like listened to them say it several times, but I did my best. But she goes by Elsie. Elsie is a nice, wonderful, like good stay-at-home mom. She makes a little money on the side because she sells Mary Kay, which makes sense if you're in like a military like family. A lot of women work for themselves because they want to be able to have a little extra income and it moves with you. And you know, this was 1995. We didn't really have the internet capability of like working remotely. They talk to the neighbors and they find out the names of the husband and the child. It was really easy because the father's name is William Jennes and the son's name is William Jennes Jr. So I'm going to call the dad Bill and the son William. Just want to clarify that so going forward, we know.
Got it.
Bill and Elsie had been married for 14 years and they had met when he was in the army and he had just retired like a couple years before that. Bill sold insurance and kind of worked for himself as like an insurance broker. They had only lived in their house for about a year, but they had made wonderful friends in the neighborhood and people really, really loved them. And they just thought everything about this family seemed like the perfect American dream, right? Like they were a loving family. They did a lot of stuff together. It just really seemed like they were the perfect family. And I know that anytime we hear that, trouble a brewing.
Bad news.
Mm-hmm. One of the neighbors said that she saw the family van drive away shortly before she sees smoke come from the house. So they're like, what the fuck? And so Papa Joe was like, who's driving the van? What is it? And the reporter says, at this point, no one is even ruling out the fact that this could have just been someone who came in, shot Elsie, and abducted William and Bill. If you have someone's child at a gunpoint, you probably do pretty much anything, unless you're really bad people. But they're trying to figure out, like, where are William and Bill? So as Papa Joe is pondering this thought, he gets a phone call, which it appeared to come through his car, which I was like, ooh, car phone. Because, 95, we don't have cell phones yet. And it is the Canyon City Police Department, and they are calling because they have William and Kirby, who's the dog, if we remember. They were like, he's got quite an interesting story. Mind you, I told you what happened in the story before we got to this point, but like, this is where we're finding out actually in the episode what happened. He said his dad dropped him off. Bill had told William that they were being chased by foreign agents and they were trying to kill them. So Papa Joe and Graham are like, well, we got to interview this kid. We got to go get him. Like, what's going on? But there's very specific protocols and like laws in Colorado, especially at that time, where they have to transport the child before they can interview him fully. So they sent someone to go get him and transfer him to Colorado Springs. And so they do that. But then they bring in someone else. Her name is Barbara Midyat. And she's a special investigator that basically investigates, or I don't want to use the word interrogates, but like interviews children, but also interrogates children. She's specially trained to deal with like child psychological aspects of cases. Because, you know, sometimes when you've only dealt with adults, we all have that one friend who doesn't have kids. I mean, I've been around children, so I am like socialized with them, but like if you've never socialized with children, like adults can be really weird with kids because they're like, what do I say to you, you know? But she was saying like she doesn't normally deal with homicide. It's typically like family stuff. So she was like, this is going to be interesting. So they get William there and they're like, okay, we're going to take the dog and put him in like the pound or whatever. And Papa Joe was like, get the fuck away from that dog. He's going to stay with the kid. Because he's like, he's already gone through this tragic thing. We know that his mom is dead. We don't know if he knows his mom is dead. We're also not going to rip his dog away. Also, where the fuck is his dad? So Papa Joe and Barbara take him in and they're like telling him the whole process of like how it works, the whole like to be questioned and interviewed. And so they show him like the camera and everything and like how it's a two-way mirror. So that's basically what they were talking to him about. And then they said, okay, tell us the story. So William tells the story exactly the same way, like exactly the same way he tells Canyon PD. And he said that his dad wasn't actually an insurance agent, but he was a special agent, a special secret agent to be exact.
Oh, shit.
Right. And you're like, oh my God, is this like The Americans?
Oh my God, I forgot about that show.
Right. And that he said that because of his dad's job, quote unquote, foreign agents were after him. And that it was like they were getting ready to go somewhere. They actually were getting ready to go camping, Bill and William were. And he said that Bill told him, get in the car, take the dog, get in the car. And then they started driving. And then when they get to the Canyon Police Department, he drops him off and he gives them a very specific set of instructions. And it is, go in, tell the police exactly what happened today. Tell them I put you in the car, we got here, and tell them that I'm going east to draw the assassins away from you, which is a weird thing for someone to tell the police. And then Papa Joe was like, William, is there anything else you want to tell us? Anything else you know? And he's like, oh yeah. And he pulls out of his pocket an index card. And he said, my dad gave me this index card a couple of days ago. And they're like, it has some like phone numbers and names on it. And he's like, what is this? Come to find out, both of their like parents live in Maine. William's grandparents live in Maine. This is a list of their names and their numbers to be able to get a hold of them. And William says again, you know, he gave it to me 2 days ago in case I need it for whatever reason. Now, like in reality, this could be interesting. All kids who have phones these days probably have their grandparents' numbers in their phone. So it's kind of like an added thing. That's if there's like relationships there and whatnot. But like, you know, at 95, an index card with phone numbers on it made sense. And to be like, carry this with you in case you need it. Because, you know, he's also like, at this point, I'm thinking, well, he's an insurance agent, quote, quote. It would make sense like for him to like, if he's dealing with like maybe life insurance stuff, being like, well, if something happened to his mom and I, how would he know how to get a hold of his grandparents? So at this point, they're like, shit, we got to find Bill. Like, what's going on? They're like, this is what we know about Bill, is that he was in the army and that he only served 15 years. You know, like some people, like certain positions, they can like opt to get out early and still get like full retirement-y stuff because of like service, whatever. So he only did 15 years and he opted to get out early.
Okay.
And they're like, we got to find out more about Bill. Come to find out, Bill was actually an intelligence officer in the army. And he had, quote, beyond top secret clearance. And he had access to compartmentalized information, which apparently I was just like, did someone say confidential information wrong? Apparently compartmentalized information is more secret than confidential or like top secret.
Oh.
So Papa Joe was like, well, could foreign agents really be after him? And even Papa Joe goes, could it be our internal people? Because maybe Bill took some stuff he wasn't supposed to know about.
plausible.
Right?
Could be.
And they found out that he was stationed at NORAD and that he had a super high clearance level.
Ooh.
So things are kind of like, because they've done the background search and they've called the army and they're like, obviously, like, we don't know where he is, but like, it isn't like that impossible at this point or implausible. So now they have, in addition to solving the murder and the mystery of the fire starting, but like, where the fuck is Bill? And what could Bill be? Like, what could he have? And like, what could be in trouble? But they're like, what do we do right now with William and Kirby? Because they don't want to like separate them. And his grandparents live in Maine, so it's not going to be quite like as quickly. Well, apparently a couple by the name of Linda and Corky Newcomb were really good friends with the Jenneses. And so they immediately were like, we will come and take him and the dog and he can come be with us. So they get that and they get everything sorted out. But then they haven't told William that his mom is dead at this point. And the Newcombs are standing there like waiting to take him home. So Barbara has to be like, hey, buddy, Pally, got some bad news. And they basically tell him and he doesn't process it right away. He just kind of like takes it in and he's a little sad, but he's also 10, mind you. And Papa Joe goes on to say, and Barbara says, kids don't process the same way adults do because they don't fully grasp like what death is for a while. And especially if it's not talked about. So they weren't like concerned about his like lack of like outrage, if that makes sense, or like breakdown. So they're like, okay, we got to find Bill now that we got William sorted out and that he's taken care of, we got to find Bill. So they put out a bolo on him. And wouldn't you know, 100 miles away from Colorado Springs in a town called Salida, I believe is how it's pronounced. I don't know if I'm saying it wrong. Salida. They find out, they get a call from a police station because guess who's there? It's Bill.
Bill?
Bill is 100 miles away in Salida, Colorado. So he tells the same story. It's super similar to the story. So Papa Joe and Graham jump in the car and head down, and they're joined a detective by the name of Terry Bjorndal. He describes William as about 6 foot tall, 180 pounds. He, like his son, is very articulate and intelligent sounding. Papa Joe said, like, oh, how did you end up here? And he goes, several weeks ago, we started getting these phone calls, and then we'd pick up the phone and be like, hello, and then there would just be a hang up. And this was like really annoying. And this was going on like multiple times a day for like several weeks, right? And then one day, Bill answers the phone and a male voice says, we want the documents, but it's in like a nondescript accent. Like, so it's just like a dude's voice. And he's like, what documents? And then the phone hangs up.
Oh, shit.
Right? So Bill is like telling the police about his military background and how he actually like did a lot of intelligence for Black Ops. So I was like, oh shit. Maybe we shouldn't be telling the police like what we do for the military, like so much, but like, okay, I get it. He said that he was convinced that someone thinks he had something like from work, like his previous work, and that they would kill him to get it back. Apparently, at this point in the timeline, according to Bill, the calls start to increase, and it is so much they're calling all the time and hanging up, calling all the time and hanging up. And Bill tells the caller one time, don't call here anymore. But the phones just keep calling, and Bill is like, what the fuck? So Elsie answers the phone and was like, you know what, dude, you can just drop dead and fuck off. Which I was like, Elsie seems like my kind of friend. Like, I would have also said those things. But what's interesting is Papa Joe is the one who's telling this. Papa Joe says fuck. And I was like, oh, Papa.
What?
I was like, I've heard him say shit before, but like...
That's about it.
I was like, Papa Joe.
Oh.
And it wasn't even like he was like, you know, like how some people don't want to say it. He just said it full chested. He was like, and fuck off. And I was like, oh, Papa. And if anyone's a theater person right now in their head, they just hear, Papa, can you hear me? Sorry, they won't do it. Anyway, so according to the story is that at this point, Bill is fucking done with these phone calls and he just needs to get away. So he tells Elsie, I'm going to go camping with William and we're just going to go and disconnect for a couple of days. And Elsie's like, you know what? That's great. I'll just tell, like, if they call, I'll just say that you're not here, that kind of thing. So Elsie's going to stay behind. But I was like, this was like my first red flag in the conversation. I was like, if I was Elsie, I'd be like, I'm getting the fuck out too. Like, I might not want to go camping, but I'm going to get out because I cannot take this. Because if it's bothering him, it's bothering her. And he said that he went to say goodbye to Elsie and he hears her talking to someone in the basement. And it's the male voice from the phone call, that nondescript male voice. I'm not telling this well because, I mean, I'm telling it well, but I'm telling it in a way that you can tell I think it's bullshit. Sorry. If you're like, is it? Just hang on. So Bill says he sees a man that's in his 40s. He's very fit and very trim. And he's wearing a full face plastic see-through mask. And he's holding a semi-automatic .45 pistol. But the mask is like a clear hockey mask, so he can't quite make out his face.
Sure, Bill.
He said the man is yelling at Elsie to give him the files, and she's like, what files? I don't know what files. It's literally this. The actress in this was great. She was fantastic. And he's like, this guy is pointing the gun at Elsie. And so Bill is just standing in the doorway. Now, I want to remind you listeners that Bill has now at this point told them that he has Black Ops training. And he says that Elsie makes eye contact with him and is like, go, save yourself. Save the boy.
I'd be like, husband, save me. Save me first. Kill this guy. Something.
Right. What fuck? No. Nope. Bill just panicked.
Shut up.
Right? Bill says, I just panicked and I ran upstairs. Like the sacrifice that my wife made for us. And then he just he gets William and the dog in the car and they just take off. And then he drives to Canyon City and drops off William and gives him an index card and says, go in there. I'm going to go east. And then that's when he drives to like Salida. And he goes, my wife sacrificed herself to save me and my son. And I don't know if you caught this, but Papa Joe instantly picks up an inconsistency in the story. Bill is telling that William is told. Now, mind you, William is an 10-year-old child. He did not know his mother was dead. He did not know anything. So he's just telling the story as is. The inconsistency is that if we remember, William said that Bill had given him that index card 2 days prior. And we find out that Papa Joe drilled down on that little fact with William in that interview. Papa Joe says, when did he give you the card? And he goes, 2 days ago. And he goes, 2 days ago from today? And he says, yes. And he goes, why did your dad give you the card? And he said, I asked him why. And he said, so in case you might need it in the future. So Papa Joe is like, your story almost lined up, but you slipped up in a little place. So because he caught this detail, Papa Joe goes, you know, a lot of like non-seasoned detectives probably would have let it go. But because Papa Joe at this point has been a very seasoned detective, at least at this point, like 15, 20 years, he kind of got it. And can you imagine, this is like Graham's like first day of work and this is what he's seeing.
Oh man, insanity.
Right. So Papa Joe goes, normally I don't get specific. I normally leave things very broad and let them wiggle their way into my specific. But he's like, I'm not doing that. He goes, Bill, I don't believe you. That's not what happened. Tell me what happened. Bill's like, no, that's what happened. And they go back and forth. And he goes, I know that you didn't give him that index card when he got out of the van. You gave him that index card 2 days ago. And Papa Joe says he could just tell in his face when Bill realized that they weren't going to believe him. And he just kind of broke. And he said, I'd had enough. Since getting out of the army, Bill has not actually had a job.
Okay.
He was in a lot of financial trouble. He wanted to be a stockbroker type, like he wanted to be an investment type of guy. So when he got out, he got a $70,000 payout and he put it all into the stock market and lost it.
Oof.
He then went to their savings account, which apparently had been quite a large amount of savings, and then lost that. And then desperate, he reached out to his parents and borrowed money. And lost it.
Oh my God, what an idiot.
I'm just going to say it. After $70K and $95, that's so much money to lose in the stock market. I would have been like,
we're going to keep this savings going as long as possible. That's what my thought would have been.
And I'm going to get a fucking job. Now, mind you, he is an intelligence officer with the U.S. Army out of NORAD, which means they probably would have paid him a shit ton of money to be a consultant or a contractor.
Yeah.
So Bill paints a picture. Basically, they're on the verge of financial destruction. Like they're about to lose it all because they had just bought, they'd only lived in that house for a year. So they just bought it. Everything was crazy. Apparently, Elsie was, which rightfully so, was really unhappy. And she was like, you're not supporting the family. Mind you, Elsie is like living off a Mary Kay salary. So she's trying to do her thing.
Right. Commission.
And she's just begging Bill to get a job, help support your family, go back into the army. They said they would take you back, all of these things. And he's like, just she's like, do something. And he's like, I would just sit. And he's like, I couldn't think of what I could do to get money. I was like, really? She just gave you 12 options.
Oh my God, Bill.
Most of the time with these like private contractors, it's a phone call to someone. It's like, hey, I'm thinking about doing something. You got anything available? And they're like, let me find the money.
Right.
And basically he said it was like all this pressure and he was like, I need to get away and I'm going to take William and we're going to go camping. Well, apparently this set Elsie off because she's like, why the fuck are you going camping? You should be getting a job.
Valid.
Right? Like she was really upset. She's like, I can't believe you're taking time off. And he was just feeling like she was nagging him. So he reached into his desk and pulled out his .45 and he walked over and shot Elsie in the face.
What a piece of shit.
Right? And then as she was falling to the ground, shot her in the back.
This bitch.
Mm-hmm. I know. Bill's a fucking terrible person. Then he was like, shit, I got to take care of this. So he poured gasoline everywhere and then lit it and then ran upstairs and threw William in the van and left. And then on the way there, he concocted this plan and he drops William off. And then as he's driving to his location, he stops. Apparently there's an Arkansas River near Colorado, which I was like, that seems weird, but this is in Colorado. But then again, like the Colorado River is in Washington. So
right.
So he threw the gun in there and Papa Joe was like, that river will move 50-pound rocks. So we're not finding a 28-ounce gun. And I was like, oh, damn, Papa Joe, you know the specifics of that gun? So they're like, okay, since you confessed, Bill wrote a 2-page confession letter.
Damn.
So Bill pled guilty to second-degree murder. And the reason why the DA took this was if they did anything more, other than like him pleading guilty, I guess, William would have to testify or give a statement.
Oh.
And so they did the second degree so that...
He had enough trauma, yeah.
Yeah, because he was 10. So he got 48 years to life. I was trying to find the date because I always miss the day that things happen, these crimes on the show, because they sometimes they don't say them, they just put them up on the screen.
Flash it, yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't want to go back. And so I like Googled it. And then I realized that like she was buried in Maine.
Oh.
And then because both of her parents have now deceased, her parents, like her mom lived 20 years more than she did. And her dad 22. And I was like heartbroken.
Yeah, that's awful.
Right? I was like, oh God. But yeah, that kind of wraps up the Papa Joe episode of today, the Homicide Hunter. I was like, where is this going? Man of mystery intrigue. It had psycho people. It had a fire. It had a rookie on his first day. I was like, they should have made a movie out of this.
Yeah, that's crazy. Oh my gosh.
So there was a fire, but then this kid, like, can you imagine being that detective in Canyon City and this like 10-year-old walks in and he was apparently very calm, just calm, collected, whatever. And then just be like, I got a kid. I don't know where he goes. What do I do with him? I don't know. I was like, wow, this was a lot. But, you know, once again, Papa Joe saves the day. Good job, Papa Joe. And Detective Graham had a great first day because they solved a case.
Yeah.
In one day.
That's crazy how quick that was.
Right? Well, I mean, it made sense because once they started interviewing Bill.
He just cracked. Yeah.
He cracked.
Because he's a bitch. Yep.
And I think like he didn't really think this through.
No, doesn't sound like it.
You know, and I think he had to have been an intelligent person because that was kind of a 50 miles. That's like an hour.
Right.
Depending on traffic and stuff. And I'm thinking in an hour, he quote thought of this, but they're thinking that's not what happened. They think that he was going to do something anyway because the fact that he gave it to him 2 days before.
Right. He was already formulating his plan. Yeah.
It's premeditated. I was like, good God, that was a lot. But that was 30 years ago.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I know. And then it was interesting because I was like, normally I'm about the kids. I'm about William's age. And so I was like, oh God.
I know. Poor kid.
I know. But we're going to go ahead and wrap up today's episode. The next time I do Papa Joe, it might be a longer one because Tara and I were digging through Discovery Plus the other day. And we found out that he has some other big cases that did standalones on. So you might be getting those soon. We'll see.
Yeah.
With that, we're going to go ahead and wrap up. And we will see you back here on Sunday for another Sunday Scaries. Toodles.
Bye.